Okay, we're good to go. Kemudian view full screen. Alright. So in cryptography, we are interested in three binary operations. Okay, three binary operations applied to the set of integers. Okay, so kalau tadi saya bagi only three examples, kan? I gave you three examples for the binary operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication. Tapi saya tidak sebut tentang division. Kenapa? Later kita akan jawab. Okay, sekali lagi back to the definition. Okay, so for addition, subtraction, and multiplication, all these operations are binary operations because they take two inputs and yield single output. Okay, as you can see in the example, all these three operations takes two inputs and yield single output. The inputs are integers, the output also are integers, means in the same set. So this property is what we call as closure property. Okay, closure property. That means the input are integers, the output also integers. Still playing around inside a single or the same set. That is why we call it as closure property. Okay, the input integer, output dia juga adalah integer. Jadi untuk binary operations, we need to make sure that the inputs are integers, the output is also integer. So kenapa dengan division? Why division is not included or not being determined or considered as a binary integer? Because for the division, the output is not necessarily single value. Okay, the output for the division operations, basically there are two output for the division operations. Dia bukan single output, tapi ada two outputs for the division operations. Okay, so division does not fit in binary operations, doesn't fit the definition to be a binary operation because division produces two outputs instead of single output. Let's say we have two integers, a and n, two positive integers, a and n, okay, where the integer a is greater than n. Okay, then if we divide the integer a by the integer n, where a is the dividend, n is the divisor, so we obtain two outputs, two integer outputs. The first output is the quotient, and the second output is the remainder r. Okay, so q is the quotient and r is the remainder, and both values are integer numbers. Okay, so the relationship between these four integers can be shown in the equations 1 and 1, 2. So we divide a by n, we obtain q plus r over n. Okay, let's say we have a one number, we divide one integer, we divide by another integer which is smaller than that number. So kita akan dapat ada dua kemungkinan. We obtain a single integer value as the answer, and that answer is the quotient actually. Okay, so that means implicitly the second output, which is r, is equal to 0. Itu kalau kita dapat jawapan untuk division itu adalah nombor integer. Yes, memang nampak single kan, tapi implicitly actually two outputs. Okay, the integer value yang kamu nampak itu adalah the quotient, while the remainder is actually equal to 0, but still two outputs. Cuma yang visible adalah single output. Okay, itu kalau dia punya jawapan adalah single integer value lah. Okay, let's say we divide another integer number by n lah. Okay, by the divisor. So the output is this time is a non-integer value. So what does it mean? That means, okay, the number in front of the titik perpuluhan itu adalah the quotient. Okay, is the quotient. While the value after we deduct the quotient, we obtain 0 point something. The 0 point something itu adalah the r over n. The value for the remainder divided by the divider. Remainder divided by divider, which is r over over n. So itu value untuk 0 point something tadi. Okay. So maknanya for any division operations, there are always two output, the quotient and also remainder. That is why division doesn't fit to be a binary operation. Okay, so if we rearrange the equation number 1, we take n to the other side, so kita akan dapat equation number 2. Kita ada A equal to NQ plus R. So we always need to make sure that the value for the R remain in this range. It is either equal to 0, okay, ataupun it is greater than 0 but it must less than n. So reminder, tidak boleh lebih ataupun outside this range. Mesti berada dalam this range. Okay. So in this relation, A is called as dividend, N is called divisor, Q is called as quotient, and R is what we call as the remainder ataupun residue, the baki lah, kan, baki hasil bahagi. So this is what we did in our secondary school level dulu kan. Mungkin sampai sekarang juga lah kita masih guna pakai kan. Tapi ini biasa kita guna sekolah menengah dulu lah. Bila buat division, inilah caranya kan. So we divide 255 by 11. So kita akan obtain the integer value 23 adalah the quotient. Okay, so bila kita buat the hasil bahagi, so we obtain the remainder is equal to 2. Okay, so n is 11 is the divisor, 255 is the dividend, 23 is the quotient, and 2 is the remainder. Okay, so if we take all these values to the equation number 1, so we obtain this equation. If we rearrange, we take 11 to the other side, so we obtain the second equation. Okay, so ini contoh dia lah, memulakan example. So in C language, the operator, this operator, okay, this kind of yang slash ni, can find the quotient and the percentage, can find the remainder. Ini kalau language C lah. Sekarang macam kamu tidak guna sudah kan language C ni. Okay, so how to compute the remainder R by using calculator? So this is the way how to compute it. Rasanya saya sudah ajar pada semester lepas kan macam mana untuk buat pengiraan apa ni, mencari reminder kan. So dia berkaitan dengan modulo arithmetic. Okay, mari kita refresh balik lah. Okay, kita refresh balik, tengok mana tu kamu lupa-lupa ingat sudah kan. Okay, stop sharing. Okay, so di screen saya ni ada calculator scientific. So let's say kita dah bahagi. Okay, let's say we divide one number 145 divide by 69 for example. So kita ada that value yang ini kan. Okay, so 2 point something lah kan. Okay, so the value 2 itu adalah the quotient. Itu adalah quotient. The value for the Q. Okay. So kalau kita minus dengan Q, minus 2, okay, so the outcome is 0 point something, panjang lah, bla 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 kan. So this value actually is the value for the R over N. Okay, R over N. So how to obtain R? So kita just simply multiply by N. Berapa kita punya N tadi? Lupa, so 69 bahkan. Okay, 69. Yes, so we obtain the value for the R is equal to 7. So itulah cara kita mencari remainder and quotient. For the quotient, I think it's quite straightforward lah. You bahagi the integer value itu yang kalau yang terdapat nombor perpuluhan before the titik perpuluhan itu adalah the quotient value. So after we deduct the quotient value, so kita make sure kita dapat 0 point something tu. Okay, kita dapat 0 point something kan. So yang 0 point something ini adalah the R over N. So untuk dapatkan R, obviously kita just simply multiply by N. So kita akan dapat value untuk R. Okay, so I think that one is quite clear lah kan. Kita buat revision saja. In the last semester saya sudah banyak kali kita buat exercise macam mana untuk buat pengiraan Q dengan R. So in cryptography, we require that the divisor to be a positive integer. Ini dalam kriptografi. Okay, because the divisor ini akan menjadi nilai modulus. So dalam kriptografi memang kita banyak menggunakan modular operations. So dalam modular operations kita ada nilai modulus. So nilai modulus itu memang sentiasa positif. So that is why in cryptography we consider divisor to be a positive integer only. But for the dividend, for the dividend, it is not necessarily always positive. For the dividend, dia boleh menjadi negatif. Itu beza antara divisor dengan dividend. For divisor, yes, it is must a positive value, but for the dividend yang kita bahagi itu, yang terletak di atas kalau fraction tu kan, yang di atas itu adalah dividend. So the dividend is not necessarily in integer, positive. Dia boleh juga jadi negative value. Okay, nanti saya akan demonstrate lah di mana dia akan berguna nanti. Okay, so itu untuk divisor dengan dividend. Okay, for the reminder in cryptography, we need the reminder to always lies between this range. Okay, make sure the reminder itu sentiasa berada dalam range ini. Dia bukan negatif, dia bukannya greater than n, but still always remain in this range. So when we use a computer or calculator, R and Q are negative, then A is negative. Itu efek dia lah bila kita punya R dengan Q itu negatif. Okay, so how can we fulfill the requirements for R to need to be negative integer? Macam mana kita nak satisfy? Kalau kita punya nilai itu adalah negatif. Okay, this is saya ada sedikit formula yang memudahkan pengiraan. Macam mana how to convert from negative value becomes positive value. Okay, so the solution is first we reduce the value for the Q by 1. So reduce maknanya kita tolak. Okay, kita tolak. So kalaulah kita punya reminder itu, quotient itu adalah negative 23. So kita reduce by 1. So maknanya 23 minus 1. So kita dapat negative 24. Okay, negative 24. Then we add the value for the of n to r to make it positive. Okay, to make it positive. Okay, I have example here. So let's say our a equal to negative 255 and our n equal to 11. So if we do the calculation, so kita akan dapat the value is negative 23 point something. Okay, let me show you. Okay, negative 255. Okay, we divide by 11. So kita akan dapat negative 23.18 and so on. Okay, so sekarang ini kita mau dapatkan value itu sebagai the value for the remainder itu sebagai positif. So macam mana kita nak buat ni? Okay, so pertama sekali we identify the value for the quotient. So quotient kita adalah negative 23. Okay, so negative 23. Negative 23 we minus dengan 1 sama dengan berapa? Negative 20, 24. Okay, negative 20, 24. And then, kita akan dapat the value for the remainder itu adalah bernilai positive. Okay, let me demonstrate to you. Negative 23. Okay, so this is the value for the r, negative r plus n. So we multiply with n, our n is equal to 11. So kita akan dapat the value for the r equal to 9. Okay, sekali lagi ya saya tunjukkan. Kalau ada calculator boleh ikutlah kan, supaya boleh faham. Negative 255, okay, divide by 11. Okay, so negative 23 minus dengan 1 is negative 24. So kita plus dengan 24. Kita akan dapat 0 point something. Then we are ready to multiply it with the divisor 11. So kita akan dapat the value equal to 9. Itu kalau kita menggunakan pengiraan panjang. But then kalau kita, if you want to make it fast, okay, maknanya the question doesn't ask you to do the calculation for the modulo. So you can simply use the modulo calculator. Ni, depan mata sudah. Okay, so boleh proceed teruslah. So yang tadi tu kalau kita, if you want to understand the process, what is the quotient, what is the reminder. But in the encryption and decryption kan, so kalau lah misal kata the question doesn't specify, you need to do the calculation manually. So you boleh terus menggunakan inilah modulo punya calculator untuk do the calculations. Okay, so kalau kita kira balik, okay, negative 255, okay, modkan dengan 11, so kita akan dapat the same value lah, which is equal to 9. But remember, we are mathematical cryptography, so you have to understand what is the mathematical operation actually are happening at the back lah. So jangan simply terus guna tapi kamu tidak faham apa sebenarnya berlaku di belakang itu. Tapi bila kamu pergi kepada the implementation part, yes, we can directly use mana-mana sudah yang ada dalam calculator lah, right? Okay, so that is the way how to compute the value for the modulus ataupun quotient ataupun reminder bila kita menggunakan calculator. Okay. But if the question asks you to do so, let's say kata question find the quotient and find the reminder, so memang tiada the steps how to find the quotient and the reminder adalah yang macam saya tunjukkan tadi lah, the step by step tadi, bukan simply use the modulo calculator. Because sometimes the question asks you specifically how to find the quotient and reminder. So kamu kena gunakan cara yang betul lah to identify what is the correct quotient and what is the correct reminder. Okay. Okay, selesai dengan itu, we move to the divisibility, ke boleh bahagian. Okay, boleh bahagi atau tidak boleh bahagi. Okay, so apa yang what is defined by divisible and not divisible. Apa maksud dia? So let's say we have two positive integers a and n. Thus the integer a is divisible by n. A boleh dibahagi oleh n. Okay, boleh dibahagi oleh n if the remainder are equal to 0. Okay, so that means if we do the division operations on integers and the outcome is an integer, bukan nombor perpuluhan. So what does it mean? That means the dividend itu, okay, the dividend itu boleh dibahagi oleh divisor. Boleh dibahagi means the remainder equal to 0. So the outcome is a single value and the single value is q. Okay, so a divided by n, the answer is an integer. So that integer is q. Alright? So if r equal to 0, then we say that n divides a. Okay, n divides a. Kalau in other words, we can say that a is divisible by n. So we have two ways how to mention this relationship. So the first way is we say that n divides a. N itu membahagi a. Ataupun kita boleh kata juga a is divisible by n. A itu boleh dibahagi oleh ataupun dengan n. Okay, so how to write it mathematically? So we have this notation to represent that relationship mathematically. So we have n, we have vertical line in between and followed by a. That means n divides a. Okay, so it is true when the remainder equal to 0. Okay, so that is the case when we have the remainder equal to 0. So apa jadi kalau kita ada remainder not equal to 0? So when the remainder not equal to 0, then we say that the n does not divide a. Okay, n itu tidak membahagi a. So the negation for that notation is written like this. So we have a, we have n, we have a, and in between we have a one vertical line plus ada slash di tengah-tengah to indicate n does not divide a lah. Okay, so this is the numerical example. So if we divide 12 by 4, the answer is 3. 3 is an integer. So that means we have the quotient equal to 3 and the remainder equal to 0. Okay, still the output equal to two values, but the value for the r equal to 0. So we can silent that dan value lah sebab sama dengan kosong juga kan. So we only emphasize the value for the quotient. Okay, so because of that, we say that 4 divides 12. Okay, 4 divides 12. Ataupun 12 is divisible by 4. Okay, for another case, we have 15 divided by 4. Okay, so the answer is 3 point something. Okay, it's non-integer value. So the value for the 3 before the point, the titik perpuluhan is quotient. And the value after we deduct the quotient 0 point something itu adalah 3 over 4, where the remainder is equal to 3. So this value, the combination of 3 and 3 over 4 is a non-integer value. So what does it mean? That indicates that since the remainder not equal to 0, the remainder equal to 3, so we say that 4 does not divide 15. Ataupun 15 is not divisible by 4. Okay, so the following are several properties of divisibility. So yang ini kamu boleh directly use lah when necessary. So no need to argue about the truth of these properties because they are already proven mathematically. Okay, so if A divides 1, then A equal to 1, positive 1 or negative 1. Tidak ada value lain lagi selain daripada itu. Because only 1 can divide 1. Okay, ataupun only negative, only 1 that can divide negative 1. There is no other value. Okay, if A divides B and B divides another, if A divides B and B divides A, so that means A divides both positive or negative B. If A divides B and B divides another integer C, so that means A also can divide the integer C. Okay, if A divides B and A divides C, then A divides the multiple of B plus the multiple of C. Okay, where M and N can be any integers. Again, if A divides B and A divides C, then A divides the addition of multiple of B and multiple C. Dia boleh bahagi based on this property. Okay, I give you example. So since 3 divides 15 and 15 divides 45, then 3 divides 45. So this is regarding the third property in the previous slide. Okay, since 3 divides 15 and 3 divides 9, then 3 divides the multiple of 15 plus multiple of 9. Okay, di mana 15 itu kita darabkan dengan 2 and the 9 itu kita darabkan dengan 4. Okay, so if you can see that the addition of these two multiple numbers equal to 66, and 66 is divisible by 3. So it is exactly following the fourth property as shown in the previous slide. So the integer 1 has only one divisor, which is itself. So other positive integer has at least two divisors. At least. Okay, sekurang-kurangnya 2. Okay, which are the 1 and itself. But it can also boleh menjadi lebih daripada 2 lah. So if the positive integer has only two divisors, which are 1 and itself, so that integers are what we call as prime numbers. But if the positive integers has more than two divisors, so that means that integers are composite integers. Okay, so kalau prime hanya ada two divisors, one at itself. Tapi kalau dia ada banyak lagi divisor, 3 and more, so that means that integer is what we call as composite integer. Okay, so we have a greatest common divisor. I think quite familiar lah kan. Selepas kamu sudah banyak nih bergelumang dengan GCD nih. Kira dalam midterm, kira dalam final, so rasanya kamu sudah mahir, capin sudah kamu nih. Okay, so two positive integers may have many common divisors. Okay, ada banyak. Kalau kita ada two positive integers, so if we list down, so that the two integers may have more than one common divisors lah. Ada beberapa pembahagi yang sama. But then there are only one divisor which has the greatest value. Mesti ada satu lah yang paling besar kan, so nama pun paling besar. Okay, so ada satu yang paling besar itu, and that one is what we call as the greatest common divisor, the greatest value among all the common divisors. Okay, let's say we have two positive integers, a and b, where both integers not equal to 0. So the GCD of the integer a and the integer b is the largest positive integer d, such that d divides both integers a and b. Okay, di kalangan semua pembahagi yang sama tadi, yang boleh bahagi A, yang boleh bahagi B pada masa yang sama. So we find the one which has the largest value. So which is D lah. Okay, so this is the notation for the GCD AB equal to D. So last semester pun I think saya sudah emphasize bahkan penulisan the notation for the GCD, you have to write it completely. GCD followed by parenthesis and contains two values, A and B, and then followed by equal to D. Masih ada lagi yang senang-senang tulis GCD equal to D. Itu memang salah tu in terms of notation lah. Salah. Kenapa salah? Because tidak fulfill the correct notation bah, to GCD. Sebab for the GCD mesti followed by parenthesis. So kita mau tahu GCD of what? Kan? Just GCD of A and B. So barulah dia complete. Jangan tertinggal lah parenthesis tu. To complete notation for the GCD. Because you want to know what is the GCD of what? So the GCD of A and B. Barulah kamu bagi dia punya jawapan equal to D. Alright? Okay, let's say we have two integers, 748 and also 2024. So if we list down all the divisors for both numbers in two sets, so kita ada set yang pertama contains 1 to 4, 11 and so on up to 748. Okay, for 2024, if we list down all the divisors for these numbers, okay, semua nombor yang boleh membahagi 2024, then we have another set contains 1 to 4, 8, 11 up to 20224. So yang wajib sebagai divisor ada berapa? Yang wajib, kalau saya minta kamu generate kan, dia punya divisor bagi sesuatu nombor, so ada dua value yang by default mesti ada dalam set tu. Siapa tahu? Ada two values by default, tak payah fikir, terus kasih masuk dalam tu set. Apa dia? Kamu rasa-rasa?
One and itself.
Yes, one and itself. So itu wajib. Tak payah fikir, terus kasih masuk sana. Sebab itu adalah pembahagi yang wajib bagi setiap numbers. Remember, all positive integers has at least two divisors, one and itself. So yang lain-lain mesti kena fikir kan, boleh kan tak, boleh kan tak. Tapi kalau one and itself, so automatically you can insert into the set because itu memang pembahagi bagi setiap numbers. Okay. Now, among all these numbers, so we can identify the common value. So in both sets, we can identify we have 1, 2, 4, 11, 22, what else? And 44. Okay. So ada banyak lah. Dia punya common. So all these numbers are what we call as common divisors. Ataupun pembahagi sepunya. But then our interest is not to find all these common divisors. But our interest is to find the largest one. So among all these common divisors, the largest value is 44. So that is why the GCD for the numbers 748 and 2024 is equal to 44. Okay. How to find, kalau kita menggunakan cara tadi, memang obviously inefficient, tidak cukup. Kita mau list down, mau cari satu ai. Kalau nombor yang kecil bolehlah kan, tapi kalau nombor yang besar, so obviously it is not efficient, it is inefficient at all. So that means we need one technique in mathematics which could satisfy or solve the GCD problem efficiently. So we have one algorithm, what we call as Euclidean algorithm. So this algorithms requires two inputs, which are the two positive integers a and b. So dia punya output adalah single value, which is the GCD value. Okay. So let's say we have two positive integers a and b, where the integer a is greater than b. Okay, so kita and we need to make sure that b not equal to 0 lah, kan? Okay. So Euclidean algorithm is to compute the GCD of a and b. Okay. So whenever I give you a question, so make sure you assign the value which is larger than the other one is A. So nombor yang lebih besar itu kamu assign sebagai A lah. Because kita punya method yang saya tunjukkan ini adalah based on the situation. This particular situation. When the value for the A is greater than B. So nombor yang besar itu kamu assign sebagai A. Nombor yang kecil itu kamu assign sebagai B. Then kita boleh proceed lah. Okay? So because 2024 is greater than 748, so we assign A equal to 2024 and we assign B equal to 748. So we have this one as dividend and B as the divisor. Okay, so we can put these values into the equation. So our aim now is to find the quotient, the first quotient and the first remainder. Okay. So after we do the first division, we obtain the first quotient equal to 2 and the first remainder equal to 5 to 8. And we take note about the value for the remainder. So we have the first remainder equal to 5 to 8. So because the remainder not equal to 0, we have to proceed to the next step. So in the next step, we take the first divisor as a new dividend and the first remainder as the new divisor. Okay, so we divide the new dividend 748 by the new divisor, which is 5 to 8, and we obtain the second quotient, which is equal to 1, and we have a second remainder, which is equal to 2 to 0. Okay, so we take note the value for the remainder 2 equal to 2 to 0. So because the remainder not equal to 0, that means we have to proceed to the next step. So the next step, we take the previous divisor as a new dividend and the previous remainder as the new divisor. Okay, so we obtain a new quotient and we obtain new remainder. Because remainder not equal to 0, we proceed to another step where the previous divisor becomes a new dividend and the previous remainder becomes a new divisor. Again, we obtain the remainder not equal to 0, which is 44. That means we have to proceed to the next step. So in the next step, we have the value for the dividend is 88. We divide by new divisor, which is 44, and the answer is an integer value, which is 2. So what does it mean? That means the integer 2 is the quotient and the remainder equal to 0. Since the remainder equal to 0, then we stop. So when we stop, that means we already obtained the value for the GCD, because the GCD is the value of the remainder before remainder equal to 0, which is equal to 44. Okay, remainder yang sebelum sifar tadi. Okay, so 44 is the GCD. Alright, so this is the way how to find the GCD efficiently by using the Euclidean algorithm. Instead of listing down all the divisors and find the common divisors and followed by identifying the largest one, so it becomes more efficient and more systematic by using the Euclidean algorithm. Okay, I think we finished with the Euclidean algorithm. Now we move to the modular arithmetic. So, apa yang dikatakan sebagai modular arithmetic? So modular arithmetic ini adalah the operations that is represented by mod yang kita tengok dalam calculator tadi kan, mod. So itu sebenarnya adalah modular operator. So in the modular operation, so actually we are seeking for the two values, okay, mainly for the remainder value lah, okay. So the division relationship A equal to NQ plus R has two inputs, which are A and N, and produces two outputs, Q and R. In modular arithmetic, the remainder R, okay, which lies between this range greater than or equal to 0 but less than N, is very, very important. Okay, so let's say we have two integers a and n, where the integer n is compulsory to be a positive integer. Yang a itu tidak semestinya, tapi n itu yes, mesti positive integer, because n is what we call as the modulus value. Thus, the output for the modular operation equal to r, which is the remainder. Okay, the remainder, and the value for the remainder must lies between the previous range tadi. Mesti sama dengan sifar ataupun besar daripada sifar, but must less than the value for the modulus. So that is why the value for the modular operations normally referred to as modular reduction operations. Kenapa? Sebab sebesar mana pun the value, we still can reduce it becomes a number that is not more than the modulus value. Kan? Macam mana besar pun A itu, bila kita buat modular reduction, so the output itu tidak akan besar daripada N. So that is why we call it as reduction. Modular reduction or operation. So actually kita sudah lama menggunakan konsep modulo ni. Ada pun di sekeliling kita. Okay, sejak zaman berzaman memang sudah wujud dalam kita punya new daily applications. So apa dia yang paling jelas aplikasi modular operation ni di mana? Dekat jam. Okay, jam itu kalau kita guna pakai sistem 12 jam, so jam itu adalah jam yang bermodulus 12. Okay, so itulah kalau kita gunakan sistem 12 jam, so kita paling tinggi kita ada pukul 11.59 malam. Dia tidak akan ada pukul 12 tepat begitu kan. So dia akan berubah balik menjadi kosong. Alright. So itu untuk yang sistem 12 jam. So kalau sistem 24 jam, so kita ada modulo 24. Okay, so paling tinggi kita akan ada pukul 23 lah. Okay, kita tidak ada jam kita tidak akan lebih daripada itu. Okay, is maximum is 23.59. Itu adalah modulo untuk sistem 24 jam, modulo 24. Okay. So the integer n is what we call as modulus. The value for the modulus mesti sentiasa positif. If the value of the remainder less than 0, so kita buat macam tadilah yang saya tunjukkan tadi sampai kita dapat the value itu equal to positive. Alright, so find the result of the following modular operation. I think semua pun sudah mahir kan? Okay, so 27 mod 5. Okay, so the value for the quotient is 5. So after kita buat the modular reduction itu, so kita akan dapat the remainder equal to 2. Okay, itu yang ni kita boleh skip lah kan, semua sudah mahir juga. Okay. Kita pergi kepada congruence. So congruence ni dia ada, walaupun dia ada mode, sama kan mode, tapi actually dia quite different lah, because congruence ini melibatkan satu relationship between numbers. Okay. So we have a definition for the congruence relations. So let's say we have three integers, A, B, and N, where the value for the N is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so if N divides the difference between A and B, so N membahagi A tolak B, okay, then A and B are congruent modulo N. Okay, and it is denoted as shown in the slide. So kita ada triple horizontal line to indicate this is a congruent relations. Okay, so the way how we write the modulo operation and congruent relations memang berbeza. Okay, untuk modulo operation, it is an operations to output single value, which is the R. Okay, untuk congruence, dia adalah untuk mewakili satu hubungan di antara numbers. Okay, it's representing the relationship between two numbers, A and B, based on the modulus value N. Okay, so ada perbezaan di situ, tapi dia ada hubungan lah. Okay, nanti saya akan explain. So we say that A congruent B mod N when A and B satisfy this condition. When A minus B divisible by N, then we can say that A congruent B mod N. So sama juga macam B tolak A. If B minus A is divisible by N, so we can say that B is congruent A modulo N. Okay. But normally we write the larger number at the left side and we write the smaller number at the middle lah sebagai B. Itu normally lah dalam kita punya penulisan. So how to read this relationship? So this relationship is read as A congruent B mod N. Okay. So satu lagi beza dia antara modular operation dengan congruent relation, the way how we write the mode. In the modular reduction operations, we write the mode without parentheses. Okay, We have A followed by the modulus value N without any parenthesis. Tapi untuk congruence relation, so we have to follow the correct way how to write the notation. We enclose the mod N in a parenthesis. Okay, so berhati-hati dengan penulisan notation. So we have to follow the correct way how to write the mathematical notations. Okay, so untuk congruent relation, make sure you enclose the modulo inside the parenthesis. Tapi untuk mod operation, no need, you just simply put the numbers without any parenthesis. Okay. So n divides a minus b means that a over b divided by n equal to q because the remainder equal to 0. So I give you some examples here. So 15 minus 3 is divisible by 12 because the output is 1. So 1 is an integer. So we can say that 15 congruent 3 mod 12. Okay, the second example, we have negative 1 and 11. So negative 1 minus 11, it is equal to negative 20, and sorry, negative 12. So negative 12 is obviously divisible by 12 because the outcome is negative 1. Negative 1 is an integer. Then we can say that negative 1 is congruent 11 mod 12. Next example, we have 37 minus 1 equal to 36. 37 minus 1 equal to 36. So 36 we divide by 5. The outcome is a non-integer value. Okay, we got 7 point something. So 7 is the quotient and the something is 1 over 5. Okay, so this values is a non-integer value. So what does it mean? That means 37 is not congruent. So that, okay, we're not congruent, so we have to put this slash pada the congruent notation tadi. Okay, for the triple horizontal line, kita kena letakkan slash to indicate 37 and 1 are not congruent mod 5. Okay, so don't forget to write the mod inside parenthesis. So sama juga macam the fourth example ni, we have 15 minus 2 divide by 2. So obviously 13 is not divisible by 2 because 13 is an odd number. So we can conclude that 15 is not the congruent mod 2. Congruent. It's not congruent to mod 2. So in cryptography, we often use the concept of congruence instead of equality. Itu dalam crypto lah. So that's why saya selalu emphasize about the modular reduction and also congruence. Sebab kita jaranglah menggunakan pakai equation. We more concerned about modular operations instead of equation. Consider the following problems. Given integers g, h, and p, then in cryptography we are focusing on the second question actually. Okay, we find the value for the x such that gx congruent h mod p instead of gx equal to h. Okay, because for the gx equal to h, if I give you both values g and h, so we can use the logarithm operations lah kan, logarithm functions to find the value of x. Tapi kalau yang di bawah itu is quite, yes, it is solvable, but it is harder than the equation. Okay, yeah, yes, memang dia ada teknik, but it takes more steps compared to the first equation untuk kita solve for the unknown x. Okay, we back to the divisibility relationship. We have two integers a and n, where n is restricted to be greater than or equal to one integer. Then when we divide a by n, we obtain q plus rn. Okay, so if we rearrange this equation, we obtain the second equation. A equal to nq plus r. If we take r to the other side, kita bawa r ni kepada sebelah kiri, to the left side, so we obtain the third equation. We have a minus r equal to nq. And if we take n to the other side, to the left hand side, we obtain the fourth equation, which is a minus r over n equal to q, and q is an integer. Back to the definition of congruent relation. Since a minus r is divisible by n, that means a congruent r mod n. Jadi ini adalah relationship between congruence relation dengan modulo operations. In the modulo operations, we have A, we reduce mod N, we obtain R, which is the remainder. In congruence relation, when we divide A by N, so actually A by N itu adalah satu hubungan di mana akhirnya at the end we obtain A congruent to its remainder modulo N. Okay, so ada mathematical relationship di situ where the value for the R must lies between the range of 0 up to N. Ataupun dalam arti kata lain belongs to the set of Zn because the set of Zn contains 0 up to N minus 1. Okay, consider the following congruence relationship. We have negative 8 mod 10 equal to 2, 2 mod 10 equal to 2, 12 mod 10 equal to 2, and 22 mod 10 equal to 2. Thus, the integers, okay, all the dividend ini, okay, yang di depan ni kan dividend kan. So, negative 8, 2, 12, and 22 are what we call as congruent modulo 10. Why? Because they output the same value. So, all these values are congruent mod 10. And how to denote this relationship? You can write all these numbers like this by using the congruent relation. Okay, so because if we minus negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10, negative 10 is divisible by 10. 2, if we minus by 12, it is negative 10, so negative 10 also divisible by 10. 12, if we minus with a negative, we minus with 22, the outcome is negative 10. So negative 10 also divisible by 10. So also all these numbers are congruent. Congruent modulo 10 numbers. Okay, so same goes with these numbers. We have 8 mod 5 equal to 3, 13 mod 5 equal to 3, 18 mod 5 equal to 3, and 23 mod 5 equal to 3. So all these different numbers yield same output when we reduce by using a common modulus value. So what does it mean? So macam juga tadi kita boleh katakan bahawa all these numbers adalah congruent mod 5. So we can write all these numbers like this congruent relation. So we check balik dia punya betul kan dia punya relationship. Okay, adakah betul based on definition all these numbers are congruent? Yes, because 8 minus 13 equal to negative 5. Negative 5 also divisible by 5. Okay, 13 kita tolak dengan 18 dapat negative 5 juga. So negative 5 also divisible by 5. And 18 kita tolak dengan 23 again, the outcome is divisible by 5. So by definition, this congruent relation also holds lah kalau by definition. Still following the definition of congruent relation. Alright. Now we have a residue classes. I think kita boleh take 5 dulu lah kan. Kita take rehat lah 3 minit. Sambil-sambil tu saya bagi link untuk attendance dekat chat box. Okay, try klik the link dapatkah?
Dapat, Prof.
Dapat lah. So kita rehat dalam 3
Dapat,
minit.
sir.
Okay, dalam 3 minit kita rehat lah. Kita start jam 9 nanti.
Okay, sir.
Okay, bah, kita continue ah. Okay. Alright, so we move to the next topic about set of residues. So ini adalah set. Okay, so bila kita katakan sebagai set, so that means we have to enclose the values in curly parenthesis. Okay, so set ini apa dia punya entries? So the entries for the set adalah residues ataupun reminders lah. Okay, but mainly it is referred to as residues, set of residues. Alright. So the result of modulo operations with modulus n is r, where the value for the r lies between this range. So the modulo operation creates a set. The modulo operation creates a set which is referred to as the set of least residues modulo n. So how to write the notation for this set? So because the entries are integers, so kita ada capital Z. Okay, but then we have additional property which is modulo n. So that's why we need to put subscript n. Okay, so kita ada Zn. So Zn is a set that contains 0 up to n minus 1 because the value for the remainder, the possible value for the remainder lies between this range, between 0 up to n. So if we list down all the values, so we can come up with this set. Okay, so means including 0 because it is greater than or equal to 0. So it is less than n, so the set ended by n minus 1. Dia tidak boleh including n. So dia mesti kurang daripada n, so the integer less than n is n minus 1. So we have infinite instances of the set of residues. Ada banyak selagi mana n itu ada, so selagi itulah ada Zn. So there are a lot of n out there. You can replace n with any positive integers because n is the modulus. So there are infinitely many instances of the set of residue Zn. Ada banyak sangat n kan. So n itu can be any positive integers. So there are infinitely many instances of the set of residue Zn. Okay, we have few examples. So let's say we have n equal to 7, 5, and 8. So we have the following example for this sets. So we have the Z7, we have 0 up to 6. For Z5, we have 0 up to 4. And for the Z8, we have 0 up to 7. Okay. So because we have a set, that means kita boleh buat operations lah dalam set ni. Okay, so the operations in Zn, kita ada addition, subtraction, and multiplication operations. So all these operations are defined for the set Zn. Maknanya kita boleh laksanakan di dalam set-set Zn ini. Okay, so let's say we have two integers a and b. Then, so a plus b mod n, it yields a single value x. So x also belong to Zn. Okay, so katalah kita ada two numbers a and b. After we do the modulo, because parenthesis has the highest precedence bahkan dalam mathematics operation. So kita selesaikan dulu yang dalam parenthesis. Then we do the modulo reduction. So the outcome is x. So x belongs to the set Zn due to the modulo reduction operation. Okay, disebabkan oleh modulo reduction tadi. So dia punya value x ini berada dalam range 0 up to n minus 1. Ataupun belongs to the set of Zn. So sama juga macam subtraction and multiplication. After we do the modulo reduction operation, so all these values belong to the Zn set. Okay, so I give you these numerical examples. So 7 and 14, bila kita operatekan menggunakan plus, minus, and multiply. So the outcome after we do the modulo reductions akan menjadi value yang berada dalam Z15. Okay, after we do the modulo reduction lah, of course kan. Okay. So let a and b be integers. Consider the following properties. Okay. So instead of we directly solve the value inside the parenthesis, katalah nilainya besar. Untuk plus minus mungkin okay lah. Tapi untuk multiplication, sometimes bila the value is too large, so your calculator tidak boleh handle kan. So kita boleh kecilkan nilai itu. We can reduce the value. We do the modulo reduction first prior to the multiplication operations. Okay, kita boleh turunkan dulu value itu kalau terlalu besar, kita kurangkan dia dulu mod n, baru kita execute the operations for the multiplication, subtraction ataupun addition. Again, check the output. Kalau output itu masih lagi besar daripada n, don't forget to reduce the value mod n to make sure that the final answer, the final output of your operation belongs to the set of Zn. Okay, kena pastikan juga akhirnya kamu punya output itu masih lagi menjadi ahli kepada Zn. In other words, dia mesti berada pada range greater than or equal to 0 and less than n. So these properties can simplify the computation processes, especially when we need to deal with large integers. Okay, so ini contoh dia. I give you two large numbers tapi saya menggunakan addition lah kan. So biasanya dia sangat berguna bila multiplication lah. So addition, instead of we do the operations in the parentheses, kita boleh juga masukkan menggunakan distributive property. We take modulo operation inside the parentheses. So we reduce the first value mod 11, we reduce the second value mod 11, then we do the addition operation. Okay, so because the output again outside the range ataupun doesn't belongs to the Zn set, we need to do modulo reduction again to make sure that the final output or the final answer belongs to the set of Zn. Barulah boleh kita jadikan sebagai final answer. Okay. So tadi kita ada addition, kita ada subtraction, kita ada multiplication kan? Okay, the next operation adalah inverses. Okay, inverses. So there are two types of modular inverses. Okay, ada dua jenis modular inverses. The first one is what we call as additive inverse, and the second one is multiplicative inverse. For the additive inverse, I think it's quite simple and easy to understand, but the multiplicative inverse is quite complicated to understand and also to calculate. So you have to pay more attention lah on the second one compared to the first one. Untuk additive inverse, let's say we have two integers belong to the Zn set. Maknanya value bagi A dengan B ni mesti antara 0 dengan n minus 1. Okay. Are additive inverses to each other. So A and B adalah additive inverses of each other. That means A is an additive inverse of B and B also is an additive inverse of A. If both numbers satisfy this condition, A plus B mesti congruent mod n. Okay, A plus B mesti congruent 0 mod n. So apa maknanya? Back to the definition, maknanya A plus B minus 0 is divisible by n. Or in other words, we need to make sure that A plus B is divisible by n. Okay, so baru kita boleh katakan bahawa A dengan B itu adalah additive inverse of each other. The additive inverse of A can be calculated as simple as B equal to n minus A. Okay, katalah I give you example, I give you question, find the additive inverse of 4 in Z10. Okay, so how to find the additive inverse of 4 in Z10? So you just simply multiply minus the modulus n, which is 10 with 4. So 10 minus 4 equal to 6. So 6 is the additive inverse of 4. Okay, so how to verify it? Senang saja, kita tambahkan 6 tambah 4 itu adalah 10. 10 is congruent 0 mod 10 because 10 is divisible by 10. So in modular arithmetic, each integer has an additive inverse. Semua integer itu dalam modular arithmetic mempunyai additive inverse. Itu untuk additive inverse, but it is not applicable in the multiplicative inverse. Hanya untuk additive inverse. So untuk multiplicative inverse ada lagi lah dia punya part-part yang kamu kena check dulu. Baru kita boleh katakan bahawa dia ada multiplicative inverse. Tapi untuk additive inverse, each integer, setiap integer ada dia punya additive inverse. Okay, that's the difference. Okay. Alright, so I give you example for the additive inverse. Sekarang kita mau cari pair. So tadi saya katakan additive inverse of each other kan? Jadi maknanya kita perlukan sepasangan lah. So A is additive inverse of B, B also additive inverse of A. Okay, so the question is find all additive inverse pairs in Z10. So in order to answer this question, first of all we have to list down all the members for the Z10. Kita kena list down dulu semua member bagi Z10. Okay, so kita ada 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, from 0 up to 10 minus 1, which is 9. Okay, itu step yang pertama, kena list down dulu. Okay, the next step is to pair. Okay, kita pairkan dulu. 0 can be paired by itself. So we have 0 plus 0. 0 plus 0 equal to 0. 0 is congruent 0 mod 10. Okay, so it still satisfy the condition for the additive inverse. That means the pair for the 0 adalah 0 juga. Okay, next. 1. 1 we can pair with 9. Okay, so pair ni pun mesti berada dalam set yang sama lah. So 1 we can pair with 9 equal to 10. So 10 is congruent 0 mod 10 because 10 is divisible by 10. So that means the second pair is 1 and 9. Alright, we move to the next element is 2. So 2 can be paired by 8 because 2 plus 8 equal to 10. 10 is congruent 0 mod 10 since 10 is divisible by 10. So we have the third pair is 2, 8. Next is 3, 7. Okay, sama juga. Next is 4, 6. And next is 5, 5. Okay. Okay. Boleh tidak kita proceed selepas 5, 5 ni kepada 6? Okay, let's say we want to proceed. After 5 plus 5, kita ada 6. So 6 plus 4 equal to 10. That means the next pair is 6, 4 kan? Tapi dalam additive inverse, 4, 6 dengan 6, 4 considered the same. Okay, kita bagi reciprocal lah. So no need to do it twice lah. Kita tidak perlukan 4, 6 ataupun 7, 3 because 3, 7 sudah ada. Kita tidak perlukan 8, 2 because 2, 8 sudah ada. Kita tidak perlukan 9, 1 because 1, 9 sudah ada dalam senarai. Okay, jadi kita hanya tulis sekali saja. So after all, we have the 6 pairs consist of 0, 0, 1, 9, 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6, and 5, 5. Okay, so untuk yang berulang tidak payahlah. Macam 6, 4 tidak perlu, 7, 3 pun tidak perlu, 8, 2 tidak perlu, 1, 9 also tidak perlu disenaraikan. Okay, because the additive inverses are reciprocal, if 4 is additive inverse of 6, then 6 also additive inverse of 4. That is why we just need to write this pair satu kali saja. Okay, kita wakilkan sebagai 4, 6. Alright. So untuk additive inverse, I think it's quite simple, easy to understand, but the thing becomes more complicated bila kita bincangkan multiplicative inverse. Okay, so in multiplicative inverse, let's say we have two integers, a and b belongs to the z and z. So a and b are multiplicative inverses of each other. Again, that means a is the multiplicative inverse of b, b is the multiplicative inverse of a modulo n. If both numbers a and b satisfy this condition. Kalau tadi a plus b congruent 0 kan, itu untuk additive. But in the multiplicative, we want to make sure that a times b congruent 1 mod n. Okay, baru kita boleh katakan bahawa a and b ini adalah multiplicative inverse. Right? So that's the major difference between additive and multiplicative. Kalau tadi kita ada addition, sekarang kita ada multiplication. Kalau tadi mod 0, sekarang sudah jadi mod 1. Okay. So multiplicative inverse denoted as the following. So kalau kita refer kepada A, so A, the multiplicative inverse of A mod n equal to B. So this is the way how to write it. And the multiplicative inverse of B mod n equal to A. Right, so don't forget to write the modulo n because kita tidak tahu dia inverse mod apa kan. So mesti diletakkan the details about the modulus value. So A inverse mod n, B inverse mod n. The mod n is compulsory to be written together with the inverse. Okay, I'll give you example in Z10. So we have two numbers 3 and 7. So 3 and 7 ini adalah multiplicative inverse of each other. Okay, because the multiplicative inverse of 3 mod 10 equal to 7 and the multiplicative inverse of 7 mod 10 equal to 3. So we can write this relationship like this. 3 times 7 equal to 21. 21 congruent 1 mod 10. So let's verify kalau based on congruent relation punya definition betul kan ni? Yes. 21 minus 1 equal to 20. So 20 is divisible by 10. 20 divided by 10 equal to 2. 2 is an integer. Okay. So n integer may or may not have a multiplicative inverse. Kalau tadi untuk additive inverse dia kata semua, each ataupun setiap integer ada additive inverse kan, tapi untuk multiplicative not all. Okay, an integer may or may not have a multiplicative inverse. So how to know whether an integer has an additive inverse ataupun tidak? We check the GCD of that number with the modulus n. Okay, kita check dia punya GCD dengan mod n. If the GCD of that number with the modulus n equal to 1, okay, ataupun dalam erti kata lain, A and N are relatively prime ataupun A and N are co-prime. Itu dia punya sebutan lain lah. But then kalau kita fokus on the GCD, if the GCD of A and the modulus N equal to 1, then the integer A has a multiplicative inverse mod N. Maknanya the integer B tu, which is the inverse of A itu memang wujud. Okay, dia ada multiplicative inverse. Okay, on the contrary, if the GCD of the A with the modulus N not equal to 1, boleh jadi sama dengan 3, 1, 5. Contoh, other than 1, selain daripada 1, maka we can say that the integer A has no multiplicative inverse mod N. So that is why, before you want to find the multiplicative inverse, you have to determine the GCD dulu lah. Okay, mesti kira GCD, dan kalau GCD equal to 1, then baru kamu boleh proceed untuk kira the multiplicative inverse. Otherwise, you just simply conclude that the given value has no multiplicative inverse. That's it. Tidak payah lagi mau minta puji kira kan, memang tiada. Sebab the GCD not equal to 1, so memang tidak ada dia punya multiplicative inverse. You just simply terus conclude saja. Okay, because the GCD not equal to 1. Don't forget to state about that lah. The evidence kenapa tidak ada inverse. Sebab GCD dengan modulus tidak sama dengan 1. Okay. So kalau GCD of the integer A dengan the modulus N equal to 1, that means A and N are said to be relatively prime ataupun co-prime. Ini saya sudah sebut tadi kan. Okay. Extended Euclidean algorithm can be used to compute multiplicative inverse. So as I mentioned before you want to compute the value for the multiplicative inverse, the first step is to determine the GCD. So actually the method to compute the multiplicative inverse adalah menggunakan Euclidean algorithm. Because Euclidean algorithm kan untuk kira GCD kan. Cuma in order to complete the calculation to find the multiplicative inverse, we have some additional steps. So that is why this technique is called as extended Euclidean algorithm. It is based on Euclidean algorithm, but then we have some few additional steps. So itu kita panggil dia extended Euclidean algorithm. So the output nanti adalah the multiplicative inverse. Okay. Untuk pengiraan multiplicative inverse ni, we have two cases lah. Ada two methods based on the given value A dengan B. Okay. A dengan B. So, kalau value of A itu greater than B, so kita akan mencari integers U and V, di mana U and V itu mesti mengikut susunan dalam equation nombor 1. So, all the values must follow the arrangement as shown in the equation number 1. Okay, itu kalau A is greater than B. So, we have A, we pair with U, plus B, we pair with V equal to the GCD of these two numbers. Okay, so this equation always has a solution. Okay, so the solution, if the GCD equal to 1, so the solution itu adalah multiplicative inverse. Okay, so to compute the multiplicative inverse of x mod n, okay, so first of all we have to see whether the value for the x is greater than or less than n. Itu yang first kita kena determine dulu. Okay, so kalau the value for the x is greater than the modulus n, that means we are looking for the integer u. Sebab susunan dia tadi macam ni kan, saya kata yang besar itu akan pair dengan u, yang kecil itu pair dengan v. Okay, so GCD sama dengan 1, that means the inverse is u. If the value for the x is smaller than n, okay, value for the x itu kecil daripada modulus n, so that means the inverse itu adalah v. Because kita akan pairkan, because x is smaller than x is smaller than n, so kita akan letakkan x2 di sini, di mana dia akan pair dengan v. Okay, manakala n yang lebih besar tadi kita akan pairkan dengan u. So we have nu plus xv, so we are looking for the value that is paired with x. So kita mau cari multiplicative inverse of x kan? So mana-mana value yang pair dengan x itu adalah dia punya multiplicative inverse. So sama ada u atau v bergantung kepada nilai x dengan n lah. If x is greater than n, then the inverse is u. If x is less than n, the inverse is v. Alright? And then don't forget to provide your final answer in the ZN set. So tolong make sure jawapan kamu tu antara 0 dengan n minus 1. Okay, I give you examples. Yang ni sudah belajar tadi kan, kita refresh balik sekejap lah. Compute the multiplicative inverse of 73 mod 25. So our x equal to 73 and our n equal to 25. Obviously x is greater than 25. So kita susun balik the equation. Kita akan pairkan 73 yang lebih besar ini dengan u, and 25 which is smaller kita akan pairkan dengan v. So we have 73 u plus 25v equal to the GCD of these two numbers. Okay, sekarang GCD kita masih belum tahu kan, so kita tidak bolehlah tulis 1. Kita tulis GCD of 73 and 30. Okay, now is the time to compute the GCD. Kita mau tahu value di sini berapa. Kalau 1, inverse itu wujud. Kalau tidak sama dengan 1, inverse itu tiada. Okay, kita cari di GCD menggunakan Euclidean algorithm. So this time, our interest is more towards the quotient. Kalau tadi kita punya interest kepada remainder kan, sekarang kita akan take note the value of the quotient. So we need to take all the quotients value Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, kecuali quotient yang terakhir. Yang ada dekat stop ni, yang ni kamu tidak payah consider. Kita consider yang the previous sebelum 0 saja. Sebelum remainder equal to 0. Okay, so we have 3 quotients Q1, Q2, Q3. So ini kita akan gunakan dalam pengiraan inverse. Okay, but before that, we need to identify what is the GCD because the value for the remainder before is 0 is 1. So that means the GCD of 73 and 25 equal to 1. So bila 1 maknanya inverse itu wujud. Okay. Bila wujud maknanya kita boleh proceed untuk mengira the multiplicative inverse. Alright. So take note we have 3 quotient Q1, Q2, Q3. So kita guna pakai ketiga-tiga ini dalam pengiraan multiplicative inverse. Okay, so because 73 is greater than 25, so that means the inverse is u. So to compute u, we have two default values. Kita ada u0, u1. Ini u0 sama dengan 1, u1 sama dengan 0. Ini adalah by default. Nah, ini sudah ditetapkan begitulah. Okay, kenapa dia 1 dengan 0 itu cerita lain. Kita kena pertimbangkan the mathematical proof. For our side, now we only just simply use that value lah. Ditetapkan sebagai default value. U0 equal to 1, U1 equal to 0. Then we compute the next U, which is U2. So U2 kita akan kira menggunakan the first quotient tadi, Q1. Okay, so just simply put into the equations. Kita ada sudah Q1. Q1 kita sama dengan 2. Masukkan nilai U1, masukkan nilai U0, so kita akan dapat value for the U2. Okay, next kita akan kira U3 and then followed by U4. Okay, soalan dia macam mana kita mahu tahu kita akan berakhir pada U4, bukan U5, bukan U6. So kita akan berhenti bila kita sudah guna pakai all the quotients tadi. Okay, macam saya katakan tadi kita ada 3 quotients, right? Q1, Q2, Q3. So make sure kamu sudah guna ketiga-tiga tadi dan kamu stop. Because the last ini adalah the demanded U lah, the demanded value tadi, which is the value for the U. Right? After we use all the quotients Q1, Q2, Q3, maknanya kita akan ada value for the U4. So U4 itu adalah the value for the U yang kita cari. So the conclusion is the multiplicative inverse of 73 modulo 25 equal to 12. Okay, let's verify. Let's say the question asks you to verify or to check your answer. So this is the way how to verify. Kamu multiply saja, okay, 73 ini dengan dia punya inverse. So adakah dia kongruent satu dengan mod 25? Okay, so we multiply. So kita dapat 876. Okay, so 876 betulkah dia kongruent 1 mod 25? So how to verify? Senang saja. 876 minus 1. Dan kita bahagi dengan 25. Adakah nilainya integer ataupun tidak? So let's check. Okay, betulkah? Kalau kita verify 8, 7, 5 lah. After we minus 1 kan? 5. Kita bahagi dengan 25. So the answer is an integer. So quotient dia adalah integer 35. The remainder equal to 0. That means yes, 876 is congruent 1 mod 25. In other words, 73 is a 12 is the multiplicative inverse of 73 mod 25. Okay, I'll give you another example with different case. Kalau tadi kita ada x greater than n, this time you consider the case when x is smaller than n. So we want to compute the multiplicative inverse of 6 modulo 35. So obviously our x is smaller than the modulus n, so we have to set that our inverse is equal to v, di mana v itu adalah satisfy the following equation. So we have 35, yang mana lebih besar itu akan pair dengan u, and the smaller one akan pair dengan v. So it is equal to GCD of these two numbers. So we find the GCD equal to 1. That means the inverse exists. So in the following Euclidean algorithm, we consider two quotients before the remainder equal to 0. Mana ada two quotients, 5 and 1. Now we are ready to compute the value for the inverse. Before we compute the value for the v, kita kena kira u dululah, kan? So bila dapat u, after we utilize all the quotients q1 and q2, so we obtain the value for the u. So bila kita ada u, so senanglah untuk kita cari v, because we just simply insert this value into this equation. Kalau tadi kita ada two unknowns, u dengan v, sebab u sudah ada negative 1, so tinggal single unknown. So bila tinggal single unknown, senanglah untuk kita kira the value for the v. Kita solve the equation for the v, then the answer for the v equal to 6. So the multiplicative inverse of 6 mod 35 equal to 6, and this is the verification. Okay, I think this one is the last topic for our lecture. We move to the linear congruence. Kalau tadi kita ada congruence yang the definition kan, the concept of the congruence. Okay, so single variable linear equations is considered like this. Okay, so kenapa dikatakan linear? Because the unknown value here. So normally we are given three values, a, b, and n, and your task is to find the unknown value x. Okay, so this is the linear congruence. Kenapa linear? Because the power for the x equal to 1. Kalau dia jadi 2, so dia akan jadi kuadratik. Kalau ada 3, dia akan jadi cubic. So begitulah. Tapi untuk kita punya level hari ini, untuk kamu punya level, setakat ini kita pergi kepada yang linear. So that means the power for the x equal to 1. Okay. Back to our problem, you are given three numbers a, b, and n, and your task is to find x which satisfies this congruent relation. Okay, so this kind of relationship might have no solution ataupun limited number of solutions. Itu sih ada punya kemungkinan. Sama ada tiada solutions ataupun ada solution. Tapi bila ada solution, dia akan ada limited number of solutions. Bukan unlimited tapi limited. Maknanya ada dia punya had lah. Ada bilangan dia. Okay. So, let's say the GCD of A and N, A and the modulus N equal to D. Okay? Daripada D, kita akan check dia punya divisibility terhadap B. Okay, check GCD of A and N, dapat dia punya GCD, so kita akan consider dengan B lah. Okay, so let's check the GCD. If the GCD divides B, if the GCD doesn't divide B, maknanya bila kita bahagi B dengan D, the answer is non-integer value. So what does it mean? That means there is no solution for this problem. Tidak payah kira, tiada solution, but don't forget to provide the reason. Okay, no solution. Okay. Tapi, if the value for the D divides B, or B is divisible by D, kita bagi dapat integer. That means there are limited number of solutions. So, how many solutions? There are D solutions. So, bilangan itu adalah merujuk kepada dia punya GCD. If the GCD equal to 5, that means there are 5 solutions. If the GCD equal to 3, that means there are 3 solutions. So, begitulah based on the division. Okay, this is the example. Okay, katalah find x from the given congruent relation where the value for the a, b, and n are given. Okay, and the GCD of a and n is denoted by d. If d divides b, so we use the following steps to find the solutions. How many solutions? There are d solutions. Okay, the first step is to find the multiplicative inverse of a over d modulo n over d. That is the first step. That means kena cari multiplicative inverse dulu lah. Kan, awal-awal sudah susah kan? Okay. Next is to compute the particular x0 solution. So remember, bila ada solution maknanya kita ada particular solution dan kita ada juga dia punya general solution. So bila untuk particular solution kita ada x0 denoted by x0. So x0 is computed as b over d multiply dengan multiplicative inverse yang that we obtained in the first step tadi. Okay, so dapat value dia after we multiply, then we reduce that value mod n over d. Okay, so after we obtain the particular solution which is x0, barulah kita kira dia punya general solution. So the general solutions depends on the value for the particular solution, because general solution which is denoted by xk, it is equal to x0. Maknanya mau tidak mau memang kena kira dululah step yang di atas tu untuk kita dapatkan x0. X0 pula dikira kalau kita selesaikan step yang pertama, which is the multiplicative inverse. So dia saling berkait lah kan antara satu dengan lain. So xk is computed equal to x0 plus k multiplied by n over d, where the value for the k can be replaced as equal to 0, 1 up to d minus 1. So kalau d kita sama dengan 5, maknanya 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can replace k with 0 up to 4. Right? Itu contoh lah kalau kamu punya d itu sama dengan 5. Okay. I'll give you a numerical example to make it clear. Solve the following relationship, congruence relation when we have 10x congruent to mod 15. Jadi tugas kamu cari x yang memuaskan ataupun yang memenuhi that satisfy the following relationship. Okay. First of all, we check the GCD of our a and the modulus n. So since the GCD of a and n equal to 5, so our d equal to 5, then we try to divide 2 by 5. So because 2 divided by 5 is a non-integer value, so that means 5 does not divide 2. 5 ni tidak membahagi 2, 2 tidak membahagi nilai b. So no need to compute the solution because there is no solution at all. All right. We move to the second example. We have 14x congruent 12 mod 18. So this time the GCD for the A and the modulus 18 equal to 2. And 2 divides the value of B, which is 12. Because 12 divided by 2 equal to 6. 6 is an integer. Okay, because the GCD equal to 2, that means there are two solutions. That means we are looking for the X0 and X1. Kan ada dua solution saja. So kita akan mencari value for the X0 and also value for the X1. So the first step is to divide all values ini, kita bahagi dulu dengan D. Okay, so 14 divides by 2 dapat 7. 12 divides by 2 dapat 6. 18 divided by 2 dapat 9. So we have this new congruent relation. The next step is to compute the multiplicative inverse of 7 mod 9. Multiplicative inverse of 7 mod 9 by using the extended Euclidean algorithm. So kamu buat Euclidean algorithm, dapatlah kamu the inverse sama dengan 4. Because 7 times 4 is congruent 1 mod 9. Jadi the multiplicative inverse of 7 mod 9 equal to 4. Now sudah ada multiplicative inverse, now we are ready to compute the value for the first solution, which is x0. So x0 equal to b over 2, b over d, multiply dengan the inverse 4 tadi, and then we reduce the value by n over d. Okay, so after all, we have this congruent operations, 24 mod 9, the answer equal to 6. So 6 is the first solution. Okay, adalah solution yang pertama. The first solution ataupun juga dipanggil sebagai particular solution. Now we are moving to the next solution, which is x1. So x1 is computed as equal to x0 plus 1 over n over d. Okay, because our k equal to 1 kan, so substitute k equal to 1 di sini. So we insert all the values, and after all, we obtain the value for the x1 equal to 15. Jadi kita ada two solutions, 6 dengan 15. If the question asks you to verify your answer, so don't forget to check the validity of this congruent relation. So kamu masukkan nilai x itu sama dengan 6. So adakah this congruent relation hold ataupun tidak? If yes, that means it is verified. Then masukkan pula x ini sebagai 15. Kemudian check whether the relationship is valid or not. If yes, then the value for the x1 is verified. Okay. So inilah cara untuk kita verify tadi ya. So ini kita tolak dengan 12, bahagi dengan 18. Yes, it is integer. 210 divide 12, minus 12 divide by 18 also integer. That means both answers are verified. Alright, so that's the way how to compute lah the solution for the linear congruence. Alright, so that's the end of our lecture today. So any question from you class? Ada soalan?
Dari saya tidak sih. So far, oke lah sih.
Ya, so macam revision
Boleh
saja,
jawab.
Mat.
Iya.
So sudah cover kan. Jadi untuk yang last semester tu kamu belajar how to compute. So this semester kamu belajar how to use the concept lah in cryptography. Alright, so if there is no question, then I think that's all lah untuk hari ini. Tidak apa-apa, so kita jumpa pada kuliah akan datang. Alright, so stay safe, jaga diri kamu di mana-mana pun kamu berada. Jaga diri and then fokuslah untuk semua kuliah-kuliah yang ada ni kan. Mudah-mudahan dapat result yang bagus sem ni. Alright, so if there is no more question, thank you very much. Then don't forget about the attendance. Siapa yang belum klik lagi link tadi. So sebab saya tidak akan extend tu, kalau berakhir pada pukul 10 lah dia punya limit. Alright, so don't forget to click the link as soon as possible. Then thank you very much class. Class dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe juga, sir.
Thank you, sir. Stay safe, sir.
Alright.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Sama-sama.
Thank you, sir.
Alright.